Hey guys, bananiac here. I'm here with the UFC fighter Mac Danzig. Thanks for joining us today, Mac. I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit of how you got into professional fighting and at the same time promoting the vegan lifestyle.
Well, way back when the UFC first came out, before it was actually even a sport, when it was just sort of this crazy action movie, spectacle sort of thing. I was young, but I really enjoyed it, and it was something I liked watching. And so as it progressed over the years, I kept my eye on it, and I never really fell out of touch with it, and I watched it go from being just like a spectacle to a sanctioned sport. And the whole time I was really interested. And then when I was about 19 or 20, I finally had a chance to start training. And I knew some people that were training jiu-jitsu and some other people that were doing kickboxing. So basically what I did was I just started training and doing amateur competitions. And then from there, it just snowballed, and then it just became something that I always, had. I always put so much into it, and then it just became something that, well, now that I put this much into it, I might as well go 100% with it and try to become professional. And, that's just the way it works with anything you're passionate about, I guess. And, yeah, man, I became vegan, completely vegan in 2004, I think it was. And, I had dabbled in like the vegan diet here and there before that. And the only reason why I wasn't doing it at the time leading up until then is because I believed I was drinking all the Kool-Aid from these so-called experts, these people that, said, oh, well, you're a professional athlete. You need a gram of protein per pound of body weight, a gram and a half if you're in hard training. And I'm like, really? Like, okay. And so, I was basically just eating tuna and like the occasional like poultry product or something. I had already eliminated dairy out of my diet, which was amazing for my health. I think when I was 19, I eliminated that. And, cause I had read something that Dr. Weil had said, about, it causing problems with, sinuses and inner ears and everything. And I had inner ear problems and sinus problems, infections constantly all through growing up. And then as soon as I got rid of dairy, it went away. So I had already eliminated that, and I wasn't into eating pork or red meat. So basically all I had to do was eliminate that and then just make some more conscious consumer decisions, you know what I mean? The leather and things like that. And then it was a very easy transition for me.
Cool, man. So recently you've just adopted the 80-10-10 diet, which is a fruit and vegetable based diet. Now, even before, when you were just doing your vegan diet, I would call it a healthy diet. Can you explain to us a little bit why you went the extra step to do 80-10-10?
Yeah. I guess my diet was pretty healthy, but I think, I just finally have evolved it. The 80-10-10 is exactly what I think I'd always been looking for. And it's crazy how you can do a lot of research and think you know a lot about diet, nutrition, and think that you understand it. And the whole time there's just so much misinformation out there. It's really hard to wade through. I mean, all these years I've been so concentrated on getting good fats and, getting my sources of, well, I was never really worried about protein, to be honest with you. I've always maintained that the protein requirements are way blown out of proportion, and we don't really need that much. Your body can't even utilize that much protein. So, it was more or less the fats. And, the thing was that I have a routine that I've been doing for years and years for cutting weight and making my weight class and when I fight, and it involves just me restricting my calories and making sure that I count my calories, and my diet of course gets cleaner. I'm not eating as much processed stuff, but I would always pull back the calories. And when I would do this, I would always make sure I'm getting all these, good fats and all this stuff that I thought I needed. And I would feel pretty awful, and I would just accept it, because pretty much every fighter out there accepts that, well, when you're cutting weight and restricting your calories and not eating anything, and you're burning twice as much as you're putting in, that you're going to feel bad. And so it's just like this thing where everybody's just like, oh yeah, you feel like garbage. That's just part of the game. But I saw one of Harley's videos before this last fight, and the Durian Rider, and I had seen his videos before, and I had looked at his channel a few times in the past, but I'd never really paid it too much attention. Didn't dismiss it, but I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's what this guy's doing. Right on. And then what he was saying in this one video, I can't even remember which one it was, but it just made so much sense. And I said to myself, man, like that really makes a lot of sense. The fact that most people that find themselves gaining weight when they eat a lot of carbs, it's almost always combined with fat, like all these things that, we love to, or not we, but people love to indulge in, the cookies and all that stuff, and all the raw sweets and everything. It's full of agave, but yeah, it's so full of fat. And when you combine those two, it's just that's what's going to make you, gain weight. And I never really realized that before. And so I went right into 80-10-10, and the weight came right off, and I felt great, and I'm still on it, and I feel great, and I haven't missed an hour, a day of it. It's been life changing, to say the least. So yeah, I'm loving it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, what seems to be the craze right now, as you probably know, is like this paleo diet, the heavy on the meat, to put on the muscle and all the protein. Like, do you get crap from your opponents like that?
No. The one thing that's cool about fighting is, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of meatheads involved with every sport, and MMA is no different. However, there's a certain level of respect that we all have for each other. And I mean, I've been around for a long time, and I've had a lot of fights, and I'm definitely a veteran, and nobody. At the most that anyone ever mentions is they actually ask me about it because they're curious. And I've had more fighters and colleagues in the sport ask me questions out of curiosity, like genuine curiosity and interest, than anyone ever criticizing. The only people that ever criticize are like the keyboard warrior type people, like every now and then I'll come across a link or something that has something about me. And then if I am foolish enough to scroll down to the comments, I'll see some quote unquote expert who's never done anything in their life but criticize people on the internet saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. He can't have, a good amount of nutrition going on with his life if he's eating that. And, it's just ridiculous. But I'll tell you what though, like nobody has ever said anything like that directly to me. And it's the same story all the time. If I'm winning fights and I have a winning streak going on, or if I just want to fight, nobody has anything to say. But then if you lose, then it's like, oh, well, he lost because of that. It's like, well, what about the 12 fight winning streak I had in a row, and all those people that I fought with? Was something different about what I was doing that, like what about the fight that I just won last year? Like come on, so it's the way it is. It's the way people are, but I'm not worried about it because I feel amazing. And so this is definitely a great change for me. It's so positive.
That's good, man. That's what it's all about. It's like how you feel, not what others are saying about you. So that's the bottom line.
Definitely.
So let me ask you this: with your training, how important would you say cardio is in terms of being a good fighter? Because I saw like a tweet from you actually a couple of days ago saying you did 40 miles on the bike. So I'm really curious to what you have to say.
Yeah, cardio is paramount. I mean, it's the most important aspect of the sport, probably any sport, is the mental side. But as far as the physical side goes, cardio is so important. It's a different type of cardio that you need for this sport because of the way it's set up. Pacing yourself is something that you do want to do and you want to attempt to do, but you can't take that, into the fight thinking that you're going to be able to force your pace on the guy. or even pace yourself. The good fighters are able to pace themselves through the really hard anaerobic type of activity that goes on during the fight. But it is, yeah, it's very anaerobic, and it's one of those things where you've got 15 minutes. It could end in 30 seconds. It could end in 7 minutes. You never know that's what's so interesting about it. It's just a spontaneous thing that unfolds, and you don't know how the opponent is going to come at you exactly. You don't know what you're going to be able to implement. So with all that in mind, you just do all kinds of cardio training, the endurance training and the sprint training, and then try to combine them both. You know, I find myself doing a lot of sprint work when it comes closer to the fight, you know, because you can't really hold that level of cardio, like the really intense sprint work stuff, for a long time. So I do that at the end, closer to the fight, you know, at the end of the training camp. But I'm always layering it with endurance training. And lots of times if I go for a run, I may just you know, just sort of fly by the seat of my pants. I mean, run as fast as I feel like, and then maybe the music I'm listening to or something, I'll just gear it up and start like getting almost into a sprint. And then when I get a little winded, I'll pull the pace back, and you know, that's the type of cardio that you've got to have for the sport. But yeah, I've really been enjoying biking lately, because it's something that's cycling is just so much lower impact than most of the other exercises that I'm used to doing. And I'm a runner. I mean, I'm not great at it, but for a fighter, most fighters find running really boring. I don't. I love running, but it's tearing up my joints. So. And my muscles and my tendons. So I've been really enjoying cycling lately.
So what does a typical day look for you in terms of like training and diet wise? Like, just give us like a quick list of a typical day for you.
A typical day, man, I'm just eating at least 80% of my overall food intake is from fruit. What I've found with 80-10-10 is I don't really I don't really like eating carbs that aren't from fruit. You know what I mean? I don't find myself, you know, messing with rice cakes or cereal or any kind of cooked food. I think part of what makes me feel great on this diet is just the fact that so much of it is raw, you know? So if I'm not fully 100% raw, but if I eat anything that's not raw, it's usually not the carbs. You know what I mean? Maybe it's some sort of nuts or something like that, just added in a little bit, but at least 90% of my overall diet is raw. I just eat until I don't want to eat anymore. I eat until I'm completely satisfied. That's what's so great about it. And I had always tried to do that, or you know, with my diet the way it was before, and it was just a disaster. I would gain so much weight, and I'd say to myself, I need to restrict how much I'm eating. I'm eating too much. Now I eat as much as I want every day, and as long as I'm not eating garbage, as long as I'm eating fruit, which is delicious and it's so good, I'm not gaining weight. I'm feeling good. I've got energy all the time. So, I eat a lot of bananas and a lot of grapes. That's been you know, pretty solid all this summer, and it continues to be, because those are both still available, and organic grapes are still available right now. I eat at least one large papaya every day, and then just whatever I can get a hold of, you know, in any type of fruit that, and I pretty much enjoy all of it. The only thing I haven't enjoyed too much was I had some frozen durian.
The durian.
I didn't enjoy the durian. I wanted to love it. I had every intention of getting into it, but the people who are really into it tell me, oh, you didn't get the right kind. You need to get it fresh. Well, I don't know when I'm going to be in Malaysia anytime soon, so I don't think I really have any options unless someone brings it in their checked luggage over for me or something. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I enjoy all the fruit out there, and constantly eating, and whenever I'm satisfied, I'm good to go. But other than that, I eat as much as I want whenever I want. And the diet, I feel, was really tailor made for me. Tons of bananas, obviously. And so yeah, at least every other day I have a really large salad, usually based on, with, romaine lettuce. And then I add in some dark leafy greens like spinach or kale or something. And then I just go to town on the heirloom mushroom, or the heirloom tomatoes, organic tomatoes, and then just make some sort of a dressing out of that, maybe with some, if I need some, maybe some raw tahini or something like that. But yeah, just calculating all my my nutrients at the end of the day. It's usually around 80-10-10, and I don't even have to, I don't have to make sure, oh no, I got too much fat, I need to pull back now, or anything like that. It's never like that. It's usually always right around 80-10-10. So yeah, and I'm feeling good. And as far as training goes, a typical day of training is usually wake up in the morning, do some sort of some cardio. That's what it's looking like right now, because I'm still 10 weeks out from the fight at the moment, maybe 9. Got to check the calendar, something like that.
So do you increase your cardio as you're going towards the fight, or kind of tone down and do more like sparring?
Yeah, well, yeah, I start doing more sparring, and then the sparring becomes more intense and more sport specific the closer I get to the fight. The cardio stuff is more endurance oriented at this point, and then as I get closer, maybe only once a week I'll do a long endurance type of like ride or run or something like that. And then the rest of the cardio and conditioning type of training is much more sprint oriented, and that's the way I've been doing it for a while. But I'm always open to evolving and changing even more. But that seems to be the formula that most fighters adhere to, and where they find success is to do the endurance training and get a good solid foundation, and then start working in the sprint work and the high intensity interval type of training, the closer you get to a fight, so that you peak out, with the ability to bring it all the way up to really high, heart rate, and then being able to recover like that really quick. So.
All right, so you touched upon this a little bit before, but can you tell us like how you actually get ready for a fight, like mentally? Like, you're about to get in the ring, and like one of you guys or both of you is about to get like really hurt. How do you deal with that mentally and prepare for a fight?
Yeah, I've been doing this so long that I guess what ends up happening is you kind of forget about all these things because they become second nature. You forget about how nerve-wracking it can be, or just how somebody with an outside perspective on the sport might view what you do as being really crazy, and like that. Like how would you be able to prepare for that? But I mean, I think the most important thing that I've found over all the years that I've been doing this is that you've got to be centered, and you've got to be poised and ready to strike, and ready to have that killer instinct and ready to seize the moment when the opportunity to finish the fight arises. But you've got to be calm and centered. That's the most important thing. So I find that meditation really helps, and just being able to focus on the breath. And I think that's great for really any sport. I mean, it's great for life in general, and then it's great for any sport, because if you can just settle back into the breath, that's it right there. That's really all you need. And of course, the more practice you give to it, the better at it you get. I mean, I even noticed that in my bike riding compared to what most people who watch your channel and everything. I mean, there's a lot of people that are in the endurance fields, and that are doing professional riding and stuff like that. And for them, like this is like old hat or a joke, but like for me, like I'm starting to get into this riding, and someone starts passing me on the trail or whatever, on these guys with the $6,000 bikes and stuff, I find myself pumping really hard and I'm holding my breath, and then I look at my heart rate monitor, I'm like, man, and I just like, that's right, just relax, you can go just as fast if you relax. And so I mean, fighting, that's the art, keeping yourself calm, because here you are, you've got somebody that's trying to knock you out, and here you are trying to knock somebody out, and you don't ever want to give in to any type of negative energy. I mean, you can use instances of negative energy here and there to motivate you to, like if somebody just scored a takedown on you, you'd be like, no, forget that, I'm getting up. You know what I mean? Like, no, like this isn't happening. I'll show you type of mentality. But an overall negative attitude is extremely detrimental. I mean, you'll find yourself exhausted before the fight is over, for sure. So yeah, just staying centered and calm, and following the breath, because that's the one constant thing until we die. That's what we're always doing, is breathing. So if you can follow that, then you're good to go.
Yeah, just keep good composure, like you said, and with any sport too. Cycling, if someone passes you, just keep calm.
Yeah.
Look at the data and go after them.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm getting into cycling, man. I'm really starting to enjoy it. So I'm probably gonna look to upgrade my bike whenever I can afford it, and who knows, maybe do some races or something, or some biathlons or something. We'll see what happens, but I'm starting to enjoy it a lot. So
definitely, man. It's kind of like meditation too, like riding your bike out in nature, like just by yourself, or with a group of friends or something. It's so relaxing. It's like more than a sport, I feel like.
Definitely. And it's so good as far as, just the physical benefits of it. The fact that it's a low impact, the fact that you can really, gauge like how much effort you're putting into it, and you can always cycle faster or harder. That's what's great about it, and if you need to pull back, you can pull back, and I'm starting to enjoy it, and it is a lot of fun. I love being outside, and doing any type of my workouts outdoors. That's why I always took to running so much. I'm not one of those guys who can go into the gym and just hit the heavy bag for like 15 rounds and then call it a day. I mean, it's mind numbing. I mean, I need to be out with nature. So I've got to find that balance. So that's the cycling and running is awesome for that. If you look at my sport as a whole, it's one of the sports out there where there's so much criticism coming from the internet. You know what I mean? Like I think there's some really great fans out there that are good people that really love the sport for what it is, and they love the technical aspect of it, and they love the spirit that the fighters, bring to the table and everything. But there's this whole other side to it, is people that are just, I want to see someone get knocked out, and then then they start to pick people that they hate. And so if they hate somebody, then they're going to turn that negative energy on. They can't wait to see them lose, and that type of mentality. And, you've seen that for years in boxing. I mean, boxing journalists even, 90% of them are horrible. All they do is, criticize in the most poorly judgmental way these people who are putting their lives on the line for their entertainment. And you watch that, it's one thing to talk a little bit about like a football team or something. Oh, I hate that quarterback, he can't throw, or whatever. But this is a fight. It's a little bit different. People are a lot of the fans are really critical on the internet. What I'm getting at is, I've fallen under just as much criticism as any MMA fighter, and have had so much crap talked about me. never, ever once has anyone even said anything slightly negative to me, to my face, ever. And I've done, a whole lot of, MMA expos and, like fan meet and greet type of situations, signings, appearances, interacting with the fans. And never has anyone even said, hey, I didn't like what you said, or I don't like what you stand for. And even they come up to me like in a sort of respectful way. Even no one's ever said anything negative to me. So, I guess people, they just know better. I mean, like I don't know what it is, but, I hear a lot about like other, sports people and people in other sports having people come up to them. But I think you got to be careful with fighters. You know what I mean? If I was just some like armchair quarterback, I don't think, and I indulged in a bunch of crap talking on the internet. I don't think I'd want to go and say anything to a fighter, no matter what their size was or anything. It's just, I guess some people do have a little bit of brains.
Yeah.
I
hope so, at least. Where do you see like the future of UFC and MMA fighting in terms of more vegan fighters? Have you been noticing an increase? Do you think more people will catch on to the healthy plant-based diet?
Yeah, I've been noticing an increase in it for the past 5 or 6 years. When I first went vegan, a lot of, like I said, like a lot of the fellow fighters and colleagues that I had were always really interested in it. And a lot of people I knew would dabble in it for like the last few weeks before a fight. They would, and then, to them, it was a big deal to do that. And they usually always said they felt good and it helped them lose weight quicker. I think that's usually due to the fact that people are going to, for the most part, drop some water weight right away, just as a shock to their system as soon as they stop eating all the meat products and dairy products. But yeah, I watched more and more fighters adopt that lifestyle, and even some that weren't interested in ethics or anything like that were just doing it for the health benefits. That's increasing more and more, and you're seeing it more and more now. I mean, it was just me, and then Jake Shields was vegetarian, but he, ate a whole lot of whey protein and milk products or whatever. And now he's, like much closer to being vegan. And, John Fitch was always doing it for like a month before each of his fights. And now we have, Akira Kurosani, and we have, the boxer Bradley, like all these people are popping up. And I don't necessarily think that it has anything to do with fighting per se. I think it's just more and more people in general, athletes and otherwise, are starting to adopt the diet and understand. I think it's just time to make that choice for everybody. People have been doing dumb things for a long time, since the Industrial Revolution, as far as their diet goes. And it's time that someone takes responsibility for themselves. And that's all that I'm doing, really. Yes, I mean, it's great for my health. I feel amazing. And if it wasn't good for my health, I wouldn't be doing it. But the main reason is because I'm in charge of what I buy. I'm in charge of what I consume. And I'm not going to contribute to all that awful stuff out there. And I think that anyone that has a good head on their shoulders and feels responsible for what they do as a consumer is going to adopt that diet. So as you see the sport exploding, the UFC and MMA in general getting bigger and bigger, then you're going to watch and see more and more people that have this lifestyle, just because it's starting to spread out to larger amounts of the population. And I'm really glad that all the endurance athletes have really, taken the first foot forward, I think, with this diet, ethically and just from a health standpoint. They're proving that, you can absolutely do it. Now it's like, well, we got to have more and more representatives from the other types of sports now, and just watch it grow and build. And that's my whole thing is, don't force anything on anyone. Just lead by example. And if you lead by example, then people should start understanding, that it's the right way to go pretty soon. And you feel good about yourself at the end of the day. I don't like being a consumer, and you know what I mean? However, I am. And so might as well be responsible. And the other part of your question, I think, I see the sport just getting bigger and bigger. I see that, the way the UFC has promoted it, yeah, it's going to have its ups and downs, but they're doing a great job in promoting the sport, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And the kids that are like 16 years old now that are doing the MMA stuff, it's ridiculous. I mean, the guys that are going to be world champions, like after I retire, those guys are scary. You know what I mean? The level of the sport is growing and growing, and it's really still just in its infancy right now. Like right now is like like the old school, the Jack Dempsey era, really, at this moment. So we're going to see more and more people get really good at it, and the competition level is just growing all the time. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to look forward to being a fan of it, after I'm done, and just watching all these people and these great athletes. And yeah.
Right. And you are in Forks Over Knives, and like we have all these medical doctors, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Esselstyn, D. Colin Campbell, giving the evidence, the scientific evidence of how a plant-based diet, is good for the health of the people, the animals, the planet. So many people are going to catch up. I bet you those newcomers that are coming up to UFC, I wouldn't be surprised if many of them adopted the plant-based diet.
Yeah. I think it's for, it's really easy to be pessimistic in the world in these days, and there's so many negative things out there, and there's so many things that make anyone who follows the news or just follows what's going on in the world, it'll make them feel hopeless. However, I think there's just as many people that are ignorant to what's going on. There's just as many people that are open-minded and that are willing to learn and really want to make a change. And yeah, those three things. I mean, your own health, the well-being of other living things, like the ethical standpoint of it, the moral standpoint, and then the impact on the earth, on the on the climate, on everything. I mean, those three things are so important. So if you are one of these people who's like, oh well, I don't care about animals, or and I don't care about the ozone layer or anything like that. Well, how about your own health? Pick one of the three. And if you get 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 3 that you care about, then you're good to go for sure. But just pick 1 out of the 3, because you can't go wrong. I mean, if all you care about is your health, well, guess what? This is the way to go, because, there's really no alternative. I mean, we're not hunter gatherers anymore. We can't, we can't gather berries and eat vegetables during the summer, and then in the winter, kill a couple buffalo or something. It doesn't work that way. We live in a world where everything is highly contaminated, and the food that we put in our bodies is just insane. I mean, I can't believe that people would look at a plant-based diet, or like even a fruitarian diet, like a 100% fruit, being extreme or crazy. It's like, this is the stuff that we can eat. It grows. This is what we're supposed to eat. And why they would view that as extreme, but think that, taking like some plant like wheat, drying it out, grinding it up, mixing it with oils and fats and sugars and salt and eggs, and that is, and then sticking it on a shelf for months and months, that is not extreme. It's like, that's extreme. That's extremely bad. It's one of the few things that I've tried, being a part of something a little bit different, that really, really feels good. I mean, it's one thing to get into some new type of music or whatever, but this is like your life. This is your health. I mean, it's vibrancy. It's positive energy. You feel good. So I'm all for it, man.
Where can people find more information about you and connect with you?
Yeah, I guess like as far as social networking goes, I wasn't on Facebook very long, and I didn't stay with it. I haven't been for a while. Considering getting back on, but the best place to get a hold of me is probably Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Mac Danzig MMA, all one word. Someone in like 2006 whenever Twitter started, got the Mac Danzig, so it's Mac Danzig MMA, and they made like one tweet in like years ago and have probably never logged into their account since then. But anyway. So yeah, it's Mac Danzig MMA on Twitter, and then yeah, that's probably the best social networking place to get a hold of me.